welcome to the Crypto Unicorns Town Hall number 45 with Aron Beierschmitt, Crypto Unicorn CEO and co-founder. It is the dreaded month of September, but I ain't feeling it, chat. Are you? For now, we have some quality time with Aron, who is always ready to spill the tea and spread the hype with Aron's updates. Good morning, Aron. How are you doing, and what is the tea?
I'm doing fantastic, Sparkly. Thank you as always for the wonderful intro and great energy. Just a couple of things from me today, and then we'll get to any and all questions. Let's start with Shadowcorn vouchers drop today. Very excited to finally kind of have this over the line, the full kind of complete experience around it. So obviously, if you were one of the first to hatch, first 100 to hatch a Shadowcorn, you'll be getting an exclusive figurine matching your Shadowcorn, or at least a voucher for that. The next 500 wallets to hatch after that are all getting Shadowcorn egg figurine vouchers. You've probably seen these on socials. They glow in the dark. They really look great. They're pretty badass. I'm excited to kind of finally get these out there to the community. These vouchers are tradable NFTs, so we'll have a new collection launching on the store that's going to be the beginning of our expansion into more merch over time via this voucher system. And so I'm very excited to finally get this launched and ultimately have this be our first push into IRL merchandise and toys. And we are very much hard at work on many more opportunities to push the Crypto Unicorns brand out into the real world, away from the magic internet money land that's been in bear market chaos for many, many months now. Feels like forever. And yeah, let's get unicorns out into the real world. So very, very excited. Thank you again to the entire team who contributed to this project, and obviously our partners, Ism Toys, who've done a really great job on this first run of custom Crypto Unicorns merch. For those following the unicornparty.com proposal, Team Surf will be hosting an AMA next week inside of our Discord. Their CEO, Shikep, will be on deck to answer any and all questions related to the proposal. Prior to that AMA, they're going to be submitting a new draft proposal kind of based on initial feedback and concerns that were raised from the community. I'll give you very quickly my general thoughts. I very much understand the community's concern on the Coda to Team Surf transition. As someone who's been working with Shikep since late last year, I can tell you there's no reason for concern. It's very typical of startups to pivot and reboot. We ourselves are a reboot of a predecessor company. I've said that many times. So that's really all that is happening there. Twitter accounts being taken down and things are just the natural progress of startups pivot and fail all the time. And this reboot, keeps the core team around focused on real money skill-based gaming. And that's the core and root of their pitch kind of to us. So it's important to understand that we're effectively working with the same partner who delivered Bumper Corns and Mob Run. So you need to consider them vetted. I know there were a lot of strings being pulled or threads being followed by the community. Again, Shikep's will be here to answer all questions on that front. And again, I'm just kind of telling you as someone who's been an entrepreneur for a long time, I understand why it can appear weird to people who are not in the industry, who've not operated startups before. This is just the name of the game. I also want to reinforce quickly that the proposed publishing terms are very much standard. The DAO makes back all of its cost going forward prior to the Team Surf crew earning a single penny. Once there is profit, we split that. In this case, you want a team who is taking on 100% of the work to put these titles forward, to market these titles, to have a share of the profit. If they build unprofitable titles, unsuccessful titles, they never see a penny. 50K a month is not saving their company or making them a ton of profit, right? So again, these profit terms are standard, and as a game developer who's had to accept publishing terms before, I can tell you These are fair and act as a good incentive to those teams. One final note on that point, though, is that hearing community feedback, they will be adjusting the mob run and bumper corn rev share to more favor the DAO, given that we've already paid for those titles. So you can expect to see those revised terms in the new proposal coming forward in the next couple of days. And I appreciate that. Like, quite frankly, I think that was a good thing to raise from the perspective of the community, and I'm very happy to see the team serve without me needing to be involved is making these kind of changes. So thanks to everyone who came forward with thoughtful questions on this front. Keep them coming. And again, this is Shakep and his team's first experience with a DAO. And so I see it as a good thing that they're not already kind of running from the hills or for the hills, and that they're really leaning in and saying, no, we want to find a way to work together. So I would encourage everyone who is interested in this proposal to try to make that AMA next week. And I believe he's also offered to do a working session with council members if they are interested. The last thing I'll say on this is, listen, everyone, this is an opportunity to partner with a team that very much sees massive potential to take and run with our IP. And this is very much an opportunity that I think we should run with. And I would encourage, again, everyone interested to hear Shakep out, ask thoughtful questions, and let's see if we can't get to a point where we all feel good about this as an opportunity. Short of this, I need to make the point that I don't have a very clear strategy for bumper corns and mob run, given the significant challenge that driving Android preload installs has been. Something I did not expect. And it has shifted the strategy. I see this as an opportunity to potentially drive more revenue for us, as well as bring an external developer closer to the ecosystem to take and run with our IP. This is an opportunity to get on the mobile stores in a way that has a clear monetization path, and again, could drive revenue at a time that we desperately need it. So again, AMA's next week, new proposal coming forward. Happy to answer any questions that might be top of mind during this town hall. Okay, after a bit of, I would say, a respite in the Sirius channel, I would say it's about to get sweaty. We've completed our analysis and identified literally a handful of bot accounts. We'll be issuing warnings tomorrow, and per the rules that were established by the DAO, those players will have 7 days to unplug. If not, the ban hammer drops. Get ready to hear from a small vocal minority of players who have been botting this experience. And you, the DAO, can decide whether or not to allow that to continue via the system that we've put in place. Last general reminder, as the Shadowcorns continue to gain power, the world of the unicorns becomes more and more dangerous. So Shadowcorn attacks begin and will begin with the launch of 2.4. As I've stated before, only the strongest corns will guarantee wards. So continue trying to breed for the highest quality, highest stat corns you can, and get excited about GemWorks, which is going to allow you to actually progress the unicorns that you have, via that new system that we revealed a couple weeks back. All right, Sparkly, that's it for me.
All right, thank you so much, Aaron. Let us run by the rules really quickly before we start on the added questions. We have a 3 questions per person rule. If a question has been answered previously, you'll have to ask something else. Any questions related specifically to your account or a Zendesk issue, please reach out to us on the mod support channel so that the CM team can take care of that for you. And if you want to ask a question in voice, press the request to speak button. It looks like a raised hand, and you can queue up at any time. Once we accept your request, you'll see a green bar at the top of your Discord. Click accept to begin speaking. We also have written questions. It's on the feedback channel on the thread for the town hall number 45. Take note that we prioritize spoken questions over written ones. You can also head on stage and ask any question that you find that's been asked by other people but isn't getting the attention that you think it deserves. Okay, first up are the anonymous questions. We have a grand total of One. Okay, everybody's feeling brave tonight. We have a lot of questions in the thread too. Okay, so the question is, I actually don't know if this question is relevant anymore. Okay, are you aligned and open to try QE again in more favorable market conditions? Or is QE off the table and we're solely looking for organic growth to start the flywheel? What do you think, Jared?
I yeah, I received a lot of criticism for QE when we were doing it. I like the market deciding, quite frankly. So, the focus here is on organic volume and trying to attract more players into our ecosystem. I've actually been a bit surprised that players haven't come forward with various QE proposals. I kind of had expected that, but clearly not enough sentiment in the direction of that, such that um, I just don't think that we were getting value out of it. I think it was allowing extractors to extract. And I mean, I say that, and clearly we've seen the response in floor prices and things and the capitulation that occurred after we pulled that cord. So I think you can both, um, you know, say it had some good and some bad. If people have unique proposals for how to reboot QE, I'd be all ears to certainly seeing that. But I do question whether or not there's value in spending that money, especially in current market conditions. I think that's all I have to say on QE.
If you don't mind, I
Oh,
could maybe tack on just a small little addendum there. I think one of the tricky things with QE is even if it is working from a technical standpoint, it's sort of hard to prove because you can't A/B test reality. You can't see what the token would have done had you not done QE, right? So you do it, and it's this huge marketing liability where people accuse you of wasting money or just buying back your own stuff. And it's like, it is a bit of a dangerous game. And I think to consider it, we'd have to find a way to feel confident that like the math is there and it's sort of worth it. And then also we can present it in a way that people understand it or like don't see it just as a, I mean, I had a lot of conversations with people when I started that said stuff like, your management is redacted for this quantitative easing strategy that they're doing. I can't think of a bigger waste of money for the treasury. So like it really had a negative effect for some big users in terms of the quote unquote marketing effect of it. But I also think, we don't know where the token prices would have gone had we not done it. And as soon as we stopped, there was obviously a big reaction. So it's just very hard to analyze, is maybe where I would put it. But proposal's a good idea. Let's talk about it. I wouldn't say never, but it's a tricky one. And it was something that I heard a lot of criticism about when I first started and kind of did my, I'm the new guy here, tell me what you don't like. That one came up a lot.
all right. Thank you so much, Nori. Uh, okay, so that's what we have for QE. Let's come in and ask the truth to everybody. Come up on stage, please. Hey.
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for having me up. I'll try to keep it to brief. Um, Love all the stuff going on that you guys have said. I'm curious about the daily active users, if there's been any kind of recent updates, tracking since kind of a little bit more of the marketing push, and also to give maybe a little bit more feedback on some stuff that I've heard from people that I've tried to get into crypto unicorns and with some airdrop type of stuff and friends that I pushed to kind of get into it, is that there's so much that for the casual gamer it's really hard to know where to start. The grind is very slow at the beginning and can be hard to really see any movement with your land and unicorns if you don't plan on investing a little bit more at the start, which could go either way. Just some of the feedback I've heard. Same thing with the family, the sort of IP being a family type game that everyone can play. I've heard feedback that someone likes their kid likes when they pick up the poop, which is awesome and funny. They said that they, shout, "Let's pick up the poop" or whatever. And then at the same time, I've also heard, from someone else that they're not going to be able to give their kid, make their kid a scholar almost kind of thing of like kids 4 to 10 might not be able to handle, the economy stuff and stuff like that. So it goes both ways. Just wanted to give some feedback there, and more just curious about the maybe the daily active users statistics, and if there's been any talk of kind of improvements, changes, stuff like that. So thank you.
I don't have good news on that front. We've been flat to slightly down on daily active wallets. Monthly active wallets are holding. The stickiness, the ratio at which a monthly active wallet plays daily, which we call stickiness in the games industry, it's an important metric, has dropped 10%. It's still over 50% of monthly active wallets play daily, but it has dropped. We've seen over 400 delegate accounts. So delegate accounts are not counted in daily active wallets. We're only counting asset holders in that calculation. So if you do count the delegate onboarding, we've seen growth. I don't know whether people see that as growth or not, and we're trying to kind of stay very conservative and focus on growth of asset holders. We have seen, and we are getting close to 5K, unicorn holders. We've seen RBW holders slightly increase, but no, I don't necessarily have great news or a positive spin on the data that we're currently seeing. I think everyone in the community sees the marketing efforts, and we can't deny that we have made some progress on that front, but it is just a brutal it's just a brutal market right now. I don't know how else to put it. If you're talking about, well, what are we going to do? It's continuing to do what we have been doing. It is a focus on repitching the game as a build and battler and not a farm sim at all. So you're going to see that narrative continue to be pushed more and more, especially as the Shadow Forge launches, as we reveal the Twilight Tactics on-chain mini game that will be the War for the Dark Forest. You're just going to see more and more of that. Tribes launching, of course, is going to be hugely helpful on that front. I'm happy with the response to clans, which is a very simple system that obviously Tribes is, going to drastically expand upon. And so I do think that we've seen a really positive reinforcement on that front. To a certain extent, the truth, I just think there's one metric that matters, and it happens to be the price of RBW. So we'll see how that performs over the next 30 to 45 days and see if we get some organic interest on top of price action. Do you have follow-ups to that or specifics that you want to dive into? Obviously, the noob onboarding program with the launch of 2.4 and the mailbox feature, I hammered on the team for not delivering that in 2.3. That was a thing that is going to drastically improve the onboarding experience because we can basically send targeted inbox mail to these noob players, to help them with early progression. We can do things like hand out seeds that have shorter timers, et cetera, et cetera. It wouldn't be worth a OG player trying to attack this vector. And so I think that programs like that will help with some of the onboarding and the on-ramp. But quite frankly, at this point, like, bumper corns is fun, but, is something that is it's quick to pick up and run 10, 15 games a day. If you're grinding that out, it's less fun and it's not really designed to sustain long sessions. When you look out at the roadmap towards Rainbow Rumble and its launch in November, we have something, I think, there that has very exciting, very difficult, very fun and repeatable kind of gameplay. We're going to be going ham with a Creator Cup and all kinds of fun things. And so, again, we are more than just land gameplay. The people still playing land gameplay are getting, reoriented towards this build battle experience. I think it's very critical that we repitch the game in that fashion. Some happy-go-lucky mash buttons farm sim is not fun in the first place, not something that can be economically sustainable, and not something that I think we've already been pitching that enough. It's not leading to growth. We need to do this, and execute on this pivot. So we're playing coy with this partnership announcement. You may have noticed some things happening. There will be more things coming on that front. I'm trying to, and very much what is top of mind for myself and the team is the idea of maintaining this momentum. It took me long enough to get here, to get this damn thing over the line. I hope to stack more things on top of it to continue to carry forward this momentum. But it's really critical that in this moment, we all kind of go out and attempt to repitch the people. And again, if they're not going to be into kind of build, battle, land gameplay, you need to point them at some of the other loops that are coming into play, or point them at Shadowcorns, which has just more passive kind of on-chain gameplay, right? With all the ridiculous philosophy and excitement around autonomous worlds and on-chain games. Like, we're building and have really already shipped an on-chain game that is much more complex and fun than anything that space has certainly seen. So I'm heading out to Token 2049 next week, meeting with a lot of investors and potential partners on that front. And again, I'm just really top of mind is trying to maintain the momentum that we see here, and do what we can in this market. I will be the first to admit that in the current conditions, based on everything we've tried, growth is and will continue to be a struggle. So set your expectations accordingly. Do you have follow-ups to that?
Yeah, I've got a million, but I'll try and keep a few of them short. For the I agree that, and it doesn't matter if I agree, but, for the marketing push and things like that, just the first thing that kind of came to my mind would be adding a social, share to the gameplay somewhere in, the game there. You could start out small with jackpots or, jousting wins or something like that for testing, but maybe it would be fun as well to have a social leaderboard. So, if you tweet out, I got this jackpot, and you get 500 reactions, that could count towards a monthly leaderboard type of reward system. That if you are gaming it, that's still also potential views on the on the Twitter front kind of thing. Like stuff is botted there, but I see that as inevitable. But maybe that could be one type of somewhat of a push towards community engagement with social, with rewards, stuff like that.
I mean, the reality, I got to counter this a little bit. I will always reject a feature that puts work on the core team that players could pretty effortlessly do themselves with free tools. It's very easy for you to capture your own gameplay. You can take a screenshot of these, jackpots. I get what you're saying, which is make it more effortless. Y'all all have assets that will appreciate if more players come in. You are automatically incentivized to do the tiny bit of work to do that. Also, from a socials perspective, just to give you a reality check, go look at Sugartown, which is generating excitement because it's Zynga coming in with their first Web3 game. I've talked to Matt Wolf, the GM, and Tommy, who runs product over there. They're very excited. They're actually leaning into the space more than I would have expected. But look at their Twitter, 50K followers pretty quick. We're at 40 something, I guess, or close to 40 now. Right? Like, you look at the engagement on their posts, we're typically higher. So, there's only so much you can squeeze out of a stone. And this is where, we need to set expectations correctly on that front. Again, I'm going to reject ideas that put, hey, build me a feature to make it easier to go and share and advertise my bags. I'm just going to reject time and time again. We need to be reasonable about the kind of features that we put forward. It's a great idea, but again, there are tools that allow that. We already see players going out and doing things like that. And again, compare us to probably one of the more hyped projects right now, being Sugartown. I don't see us doing anything wrong, and I would say our engagement is comparable, if not higher, to kind of what they're seeing. And they're going through this mint event, which is like when everybody's excited because there's unbounded potential, and people seem to not have accepted reality yet. But
So the only thing I would counter with on that is that the fact that you know about Sugarland, and the fact that as much as the engagement might not be there, the word of people seeing the actual IP, whether or not they're getting into it, is kind of a spray and pray approach of like the more people, it takes people three times when they, after they've seen something three times or whatever the statistic is, that they feel like, oh yeah, I actually know that thing or person or whatever it is. So just kind of on the front of like, even just getting eyes on the project, not even pushing, all the cool capabilities that we already do have, but just that people see the IP, see the brand, see the name, whatever it is, in my opinion, is also maybe something worth going towards. And maybe the partnerships that you guys have and things like that lined up are all going towards that and all that good stuff. But I will sit down for now. Thank you very much for the response.
thanks for coming up, The Truth.
Thank you so much, The Truth. We have VXT1 lined up. Requesting to speak.
Hey.
Please come on up.
Hey guys,
Hey.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yep.
you.
Hey, I've been playing crypto unicorns since a year now, and I would like to ask you about QE again, but on a different approach. I would like to
Okay.
know if you consider when we reach bull. I think we're getting close to it, but I think QE hasn't worked really well in the past. I would like to know if you consider doing it again, but hoping that like we could drive the prices artificially so we could attract more players if you guys fail on the organic growth of the game. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a good point to bring up, and I do think like even some of the more vocal critics of QE kind of acknowledge that it's less of a black and white, it doesn't work, but it was more of a timing issue. Um, Scaling liquidity is what is important. Like right now, selling a tiny bit of Unum moves the price a ton. Buying a tiny bit of Unum moves the price a ton. And so I would look at it way more from the perspective of, well, $1 million worth of liquidity is a bridge into our economy that feels a lot more secure than tens of thousands of dollars worth of liquidity, right? And the failure of QE is in my mind exemplified by the fact that we scaled to hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of liquidity and then obviously got dumped on by our own community, and that liquidity got extracted. So the rickety bridge we have again today is a result of the collective actions of the community coupled with resistance to nerfs and all these kind of things, right? Like I can tell y'all time and time again to stop caring about the quantity of tokens and start caring about the other metrics around those tokens that I can't talk about so much. Again, though, back to QE, answer your question quickly. In a world in which the market turns around, scaling liquidity I would see is very important, and doing QE very tactically to do that so that people see this safe, secure bridge in and out of our economy on that front is great. Unum, from a design perspective, from how we are tuning things, is a gate to progression, a gate to advancement, a gate to ultimately competing for RBW, which is a finite token. And you will see us continue to lean more and more in that direction. But again, only having tens of thousands of dollars worth of liquidity for Unum is not a good look. And so again, that would be my focus from the perspective of QE, would be on scaling liquidity when the market kind of turns around. I do think there's reason to heavily consider that.
Okay, I would just like to add you guys have been doing a great job, I think, in my opinion. I have some friends that are playing too as well, and we since the beginning we were very excited about the game, about Laguna, about you, Aaron, and the way you handle the brand. And I would like to just to sum it up. I would like to quote that I think it's a good opportunity to try to doing this like I kind of lost myself. 1 second. The QE being back again on the bull market, I think you should do it, in my opinion. But as you said, you are going for liquidity, and I think it's also a good approach. Just saying that. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback and coming up asking a question.
All right, we really appreciate you, Biggs T. Now that Biggs T's done asking questions, let's have Swiss on the stage. Please come on over. Hey, Swiss.
Hey, do you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Aaron, hello. Quick 3 points, and one of those is actually a question. First of all, like every time I say something, I want to say I'm in many, many different communities, and I really appreciate that you guys stick to your guns, that every time on schedule, you have these meetups like this one here. A lot of other projects have really cut down or abandoned communication, and no matter what happens, I think it's awesome that you guys, stick to your plan. I've been into this now for 2 years with you, and keep on going this path. I think that's the base. Second, a lot of these guys are talking about price action. I'm kind of in this game now since RW was, I don't know, $3, $4, and now it's like a lot lower than that. So I've abandoned the whole narrative around the token price at this point in time, because I think it's really important that we have some kind of feature that brings in people. There's just a lot going on. The attention is dispersed all over the place, and I don't see people coming in that easily into a project, even if it's as good as this one. So we need to have something special, and I think it's really rough to find that thing. And this is my question, actually, the third point. Across the metaverse, people are starting to talk about NPCs and about artificial intelligence inside worlds, because every world has the same problem, that it is a little bit boring. It's an open world. You can do whatever you want, but you can also not do anything at all. So there is this incentive issue that people are thinking of trying to tackle with some kind of AI mechanism inside a game to introduce a little bit of randomness, a little bit of a surprise effect. And I think I would just wonder, from your communications with other people in the industry, is there any role that you can see already now that the artificial intelligence component could play inside the metaverse, or also inside a game like Crypto Unicorns? I hope this question is not too complex, but I would wonder what you think on that topic, Aaron.
That's a great question, Swiss. Thank you for asking it. Well, the fully on-chain kind of sphere, and I'm an advisor to Curio and Raphael, who used to be the product guy at Dapper Labs and is now over at Xerox Park/Lattice working on Mud. They're very much taking the approach of embracing AI, but from the perspective of, just acknowledging that when you're fully on chain, you're botable, right? So I that's kind of a dumb version of AI. I have seen several projects that are trying to embed conversational AI into their products. I personally think it would be a great fit for things like Unagachi that we put on the shelf. I just don't know if there's a world in which everyone gets really entertained by sending out AI agents to do their bidding and kind of ultimately seeing the results of that success or failure. And if that becomes the loop that everybody gets really excited about. And of course, we've had so many arguments within our own community about bots, which are not really intelligent agents, certainly based on what we've seen, but are being directed by a human being, right? So I see potential. I don't think it saves anything in, Web3 or the metaverse per se. But I do believe that we will see more and more AI in terms of NPCs making assets more conversational, giving you more kind of intimate connections with these things that have largely just been static or you've seen, you know, in 3D on certain occasions. So I certainly see opportunity with it. I'm not certain that that becomes the thing that all of a sudden everybody gets really excited about and brings a ton of people into the space per se. But who knows? You know, we're just one great app away from someone proving that, proving that point. And I do think AI and NFTs fit very nicely together, especially if you're able to transfer an AI and its learnings and its experience alongside that NFT. So whether it's Altered State Machine and some other developers in the space that are kind of trying to make that possible, it's certainly very interesting developments. I think from our perspective, Unagachi would be a good fit for embedding AI, but I don't necessarily think it would be a good idea to try to embed it, elsewhere, right? We're trying to push on, high skill PvP competition with more casual experiences like Bumper Corns and Mob Run, and then obviously more mid-core experiences like Rainbow Rumble. Like, really, that to me is the next big opportunity we have for people who aren't into land gameplay, don't want to fight the Shadow Corn War. Then we're literally building Fall Guys meets Mario Kart meets Wipeout and launching that in a way that, we're going to do the big Creator Cup. And so it'll give this opportunity for people to go, oh, this is I've not seen crypto unicorns in this fashion before, right, in this light. And it'll give us a great opportunity to kind of repitch our product. Because I agree with you, like, we need to find a way to bring players in, or all hope is lost. Like, that's just the reality of every single game in the space right now, and we're all competing with a very finite number of players. That's why I'm razor focused on repitching, leaning into these different aspects like the Shadow Corn War, and then shipping games that are just drastically different from the land gameplay we have today, like with Rainbow Rumble and what we've done with the Unicorn Party titles.
Thank you, Aaron. I just wanted to plant the seed, and thank you for taking the time to answer this. Thank you.
Thank you, Swiss. Always good to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Swiss. As an aside, you can also speak with your unicorns and your shadow corns at haku.com. There is an AI component to it, to my understanding. Just give it a try. Head over to haku.com and try to speak with your assets. See if it's fun. All right, next up we have a written question from Dimray. What is the plan to add def to bumper corns and incorporate it into the game economy? Like increasing the paid version liquidity, and are you going to add unit rewards or sinks?
I mean, if we can't get people to come into the paid RBW rooms today, I have zero desire to add different features. You already have the Uni Shoes free play. Clearly, everybody just wants to free play on that, and you're so unwilling to take any risk on your own skill. I don't have much desire to improve that. It's one of the reasons I'm going to be pushing very hard that we work with Team Surf on this front. So I know there are some players that are skilled enough and playing enough that they would love to play, but it's sad to me, even at our scale, that we can't fill those. One premium lobby is crazy to me. So show me in the data that that's worth further investment, and we'll go from there. But right now, I need to see that level of commitment from our own community. And I'm telling you what, like, if Rainbow Rumble fails because y'all are unwilling to risk RBW on your own skill, then we've just drastically reached a point where I don't know how to help any of y'all. Hopefully there's enough players out there that are interested, that are going to buy RBW at current prices and be excited about this new fun loop. We'll see. But there's certainly some frustration that I have there, where everybody's looking at the lack of liquidity in those rooms and then blaming the developer. It's like, there's not enough of you willing to even risk RBW on that loop.
I will say as well,
swing and miss from my perspective, a massive swing and miss.
Yeah, I hope that some of these outside guilds or clans, whatever you want to call them, that exist in Web3 would be excited about these kind of loops of, hey, we've been recruiting all of these skilled gamers, these folks that have been playing Web3 for a while. We've gotten distilled down to the hardcore users, and there's really just an unwillingness to take any risk, even when it's a skill-based type arena where it if you're the better player, you can definitely win your share of the rewards. And I thought from a guild versus guild perspective, that would be a stronger incentive. It's amazing that the clans have incentive leaderboard has worked so well for our existing players, and it's been a big win. But one thing I was hoping is that more of these existing guilds would show up and want to compete. I mean, CTG is on there. That's great. They're ranked pretty low right now. I don't see YGG. I don't see Indie GG. I don't see these like classic names that I thought this would be a layup for them to come flex a little bit. They obviously have enough in some of their treasuries to pay to win if they wanted to. And yeah, not sure how to incentivize them. But you know, one of those existing guilds told us that yeah, we don't buy NFT assets anymore. It's like, well, how about just activating the ones that you already have? And it's no response. Cool. All right. Well, moving on. So anyway, just wanted to share that. That was one area where I hoped we could drive liquidity on the higher level stuff, and that just didn't happen. So back to the drawing board.
Yeah, thanks for that additional context, Theory. It's been you can hear the frustration in my voice. You know, these are fun games. When we were at Rare Evo, I caught a decent chunk of games and won a couple, and they're fun, they're engaging. I enjoy them. I know some of the community really does enjoy them, and we'd enjoy them a shitload more if we could get the liquidity in there. So the one thing that we were definitely not seeing, and this is what I kind of continue to reinforce, is we've already run the marketing test to show driving a bunch of Android installs sideload installs is not working in terms of getting people to convert to purchasing a corn, getting them over the hump into the RBW premium rooms and these kind of things, right? The unicornparty.com plan represents a much smoother on-ramp without the NFT gate for players to come in and spend money. And I think that is a good thing to test. Yes, it steps in the direction of more traditional free-to-play gaming, but the obvious crypto component remains in your ability to wager. Initially RBW and then eventually Bitcoin and Ethereum is currently the plan. Like that, to me, is an exciting pivot that we should attempt. I see no hope based on the current environment that we can convert players over to purchase an NFT, come back into the game experience, buy party stamps, and push that forward. That is a mistake. It's not a mistake. We ran an experiment. That experiment hasn't worked. So using that to reinforce, find a way to get to confidence with Team Surf. I'm already there. I have all the context. Get the context that you need, so that we can at least try something different. And that doesn't mean that we can't keep running internal tournaments and using them, bumper corns and mob run, as we wish within our own community. But again, this has been the thing of like, I don't want to launch mob run without turning off bumper corns, because then we're just going to struggle with double the liquidity problem we have today. And y'all haven't even proven to me that you'll willingly risk RBW to go into the paid rooms. So we're in this state where things are not good, and we need to, chart a new path.
All right, we have a question from The Truth. Can we please get some more content creation from these events that Aron and Ziori are going to? I want to live vicariously through them.
Big plans for that, particularly around the Rainbow Rumble launch. So that's something we did not do a good job with the Unicorn Party launch at all. That's something that the entire team understands, and we will not make that mistake again with Rainbow Rumble. So I mentioned a November launch. We're already beginning the plan. So Ori is working closely with Rice and other members of our team on the socials front, of course, Mitch on the marketing front, to really go big with this one. It's a great opportunity to get a lot of the content creators who have just never been interested in land gameplay and certainly are unwilling to get into the depth that they need to even understand the game. This will give them a complete alternative for that. And so I'm very, very excited about this, this component. The truth, I can't tell you more without revealing the partner, but you will also understand post that reveal that we will suddenly have a very consistent presence across conferences every single year. I get that. I get what you're asking. Coming.
Yeah. For Rainbow Rumble, I'm still modeling out exactly what we want to do, but I think this will be one of our first attempts to do something with several influencers that cross-pollinates. I don't want to use the word esports, but get some of that kind of like tournament energy going. Try to get some influencers streaming. The really cool thing about Rainbow Rumble, the one drawback that everyone's going to be a little, it's not mobile. Let's say this loud right now. Rainbow Rumble is definitively not mobile. It is not designed to be mobile. It is like a PC game. It feels kind of like it could be a console game. It feels like the kind of game that you could play with a controller. If you ever played like Gang Beasts, that's a good example of like a simple game that just feels really polished and still robust and has this kind of high skill cap with some memeable kind of moments and actually is hard and you can get better with practice. I think Rainbow Rumble checks a lot of those boxes. It also shows the unicorns in a much more like high res kind of 3D. You control your unicorn kind of like a World of Warcraft character, so you're behind it. You have these different abilities and movements. I don't want to reveal too much, but I've been playing in the Rainbow Rumble playtest, and I am pretty genuinely excited about it. I'm definitely biased because I've got the esports background, so I like anything that's competitive, but I really see the potential of like influencers being able to sit back and go, wow, I could do a 2-hour stream with this because I can fill the lobby with, some of the people in my community.
Yeah, very streamable.
Yeah, we can actually do an event around it where Bumper Corns, not to say you couldn't do a tournament, it just doesn't have that same depth. It doesn't have those same moments of like, oh my God, I can't believe you fell off. And, as an example, Rainbow Rumble has parts where the levels aren't just flat, there's tiers to them. So if you fall off, you might land on the level below where it's longer, but you can still catch up, right? Simple mechanism that creates these moments where, oh gosh, somebody who should have fallen off barely grabbed onto the side and was able to crawl their way back. That's the kind of stuff that's required to make these influencer events actually worth it and start to capture an audience that will just enjoy watching, even if they don't really know that much about crypto unicorns going into it. So starting to model that out, starting to work on like a list of influencers and streamers we want to work with. We'll try to do it cross language, stuff like that. Do some giveaways, do some drops. We're definitely going to go like full send with all the different channels that we've got to try to hype this up, because this is, outside of being mobile, like the most accessible thing that we'll have is like a flagship product. No land required. Very simple. Unicorns are cheap right now.
Yeah, and let's not forget this is templated off of Fall Guys, which hit tens of millions of players without being on mobile. So Stumble Guys, which is a clone of Fall Guys, is on mobile, but Fall Guys has been an enormously successful title on PC and console. So I'm very excited about it as well. I'm actually going to plug my controller in and start playing on controller because I suck at mouse and keyboard. I'm a controller person, so I'm going to Nick Mercs the shit out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. In some of our testing sessions, there's a pretty wide skill gap, and you can see the folks that are pretty good at these like platformer games and the folks that are like, okay, this is going to take me a few runs, which I think is a good thing. It's not that hard, but it has a nice skill cap to it. And the beauty of Fall Guys, right? There's a lot of those rounds where you don't have to be first. You just need to not be last. And I think that's also a really great psychology for these kind of team games where it is competitive and there is elimination, but it gives you a lot of opportunities to play and just not be the worst one.
All right, let's have another question. Has an internal assessment or review regarding the SFL partnership been made? And if yes, what were the main findings?
Let me see if I have Mitch's report to me handy on this front. Okay. We had a bundle claim rate of 43% out of 200 given. Much higher than claim rates on other tests. Of the 87 addresses that claimed, 67 locked assets into the game, and then 66 of the 67 locked assets or accounts that locked assets participated in those in-game activities. And the retention on that cohort seems reasonable relative to organic retention. So again, these numbers are small. It's such a testament to just the difficulty in breaking people out of existing communities, coupled with just the apathy that exists in the space today around like, here's a thing that you could literally flip for $50+ and you're not even going to claim it. So that, to me, the one big disappointment there is the 43% claim rate. Generally, Mitch has some improvements and lessons on this front and is going to try to carry that forward into new partnerships. You're going to see other partnerships that expand upon this with a couple of groups in the Animoca ecosystem next that I think will be kind of exciting because it's, particularly for Bumpercorns and Mob Run, they're more arcadey style projects. So I think that those games will be attractive to players like that. If we proceed with the unicornparty.com side of things, I think that will also be very exciting. So anyway, am I disappointed by it? A little bit, mostly on the claim rate side of things. I think we handled it as well as we could have and learned a lot. A lot of the new player materials and guides that have been produced in the last few weeks came very much directly from players coming in from Sunflower Land. And I would say the real positive piece has been the retention rate of those players. They very similar to our organic retention, which is extremely high. And so that's a great sign, right? These players are not just dropping off and going back to Sunflower Land. So good first test. We learned from it. We've got a few more targeting larger scale communities than Sunflower Lands. Because that is one thing, Sunflower Land claims, 10K plus daily active wallets. Great. Clearly there's, that's not necessarily driving a ton of players over our way. So looking at kind of larger scale communities, knowing that these conversion and claim rates are going to be pretty low is critical. Great question. These questions like this, don't ever hesitate to reach directly out to Mitch on this front. All of this data ultimately is publicly available. I've been telling our team there's no reason to ever hold back on any data that exists because the vast majority of it is on chain. If you're willing to look, we've looked. We might as well share it. There's no reason to force y'all into the work as well. And then anything that is off chain, not included in the data warehouse, which is the vast majority of things. Like, again, we're open, we're very transparent around this. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We don't take them, as pointed. If we're not paying attention to the KPIs, we have a bigger problem. So I really love getting questions like that. Thank you, whoever asked it.
All right, love it. Okay, I have 3 more questions. Is that fine? Let's start with. Okay, JBP3. Why do we still not have Harvest All and Plant All buttons at this point?
I don't really have an answer to that. Use a seed bag and leave us alone. Get ready. I can see the keyboards. I can hear the keyboards from here. Use a seed bag. If you have over a 20+ berry bonus on your farms and you're just so desperate to grind them out to min max, you pay for that grind. Otherwise, buy a seed bag, sink some unim, save yourself some time. I use seed bags all the time. It's fucking wonderful. Try it. Maybe you'll like it. You're actually just fighting with me because I play the damn game every single fucking day. 2 sessions usually. I never do 3 because I'm not interested in just grinding it out like that. If you're trying to min max, that is the pain you must bear. And I just don't have a concern at this point. I like going and clicking each farm plot and seeing the berry explosion. It's a nice dopamine hit over coffee. If you're really looking for like, give me 1 click and don't make me do this and don't make me do that. We've already improved it enormously. You can't deny that. If you're still having such problems with it, buy berries in the RMP. They're cheap as shit. I'm so tired of hearing the same complaints over the first system that we shipped that we've iterated a lot on. And the only thing that I will say is, like, if you really have a suggestion that is tuning based, because we can change the quantity, we can change the output, we can change the timers tomorrow. Not necessarily tomorrow because my co-founder and CTO is on here, but within a week, we can have that QA'd and done. If you have a proposal which is like, hey, let's just do, because we talked about this. All right, you set me off. We're going to talk about this. So, for example, we could instantly tune it so you only have to plant once per day, and we just increase the output. The seed requirement would increase and the output would increase. The challenge there is it's like, okay, well then everybody's going to complain who had bonuses because you're only going to get a bonus once per day. Now you're getting less of a bonus if you were grinding more. And so if you want to embrace a solution that is tuning based, I am all ears. That does not require engineering work, because I can push a tuning update over the air within a week and completely remap that system. I'm very open to that. So I understand if you're min-maxing 3 times a day and you've got multiple accounts, you're just going to constantly be upset. What frustrates me is we have had a solution, which is seed bags, that also represents a unim sync that everybody complains about all the time. And people just don't want to use it because they insist on, min-maxing. So there's a little bit of this here where I'm just like, suggest a tuning change and I'm all ears. Continue to suggest things that require effectively additional feature work. And I'm going to really need to see it more broadly than just from the same people who've been complaining about it for what feels like however many months we've been live, 16, 17 months now. So again, point me in the direction of a tuning related update to the farming system and I'm all ears. Otherwise, please stop complaining about a system that has improved a bunch and there are existing ways to reduce the amount of work and effort that you're putting in on a daily basis. We call them seed bags. They've been in the game over a year.
All right, you heard that, community. Okay, we have second to the last question. Aaron mentioned CU going for Series A funding on October. What is the amount that we're asking, and how will the funds be allocated if we manage to get it?
That is a great question. So I'm still on track. I've actually already had a few preparatory or intro calls, I would say, with investors that I've not talked to in the past. We actually have one coming into the office in San Francisco today, which will be great. So I am on track to being kind of pitch ready for the Laguna Game Series A, October 1st of this year. I've got the deck coming together. This is very much focused on financing Laguna in such a way that we're capable of beginning to work on our next project and allows us to reduce the treasury draws on crypto unicorns, extending its runway. So I have no idea if I can achieve this in this current market. All of our current investors think it's impossible. I've had very confrontational conversations with them about this. At the end of the day, I'm crazy, and I have been since I convinced the team to pivot into this maddening space. And I'm going to make the best attempt, of it possible. So, if there's follow-ups to that, happy to answer it, but I am on track for that. The use of funds is going to go towards the next project, and it will allow us to pull resources from CU and thus reduce its burn and give what many people have asked for time and time again, which is extended runway on the CU treasury. But it does position Laguna Games as a multi-title, multi-project studio, which has always been very much our vision. And we'll certainly have to deal with the the fact that we're going to be taking on, more work as a result of it.
All right, I do see a lot of conversation here about seed bags. I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, by the way, chat. Let's keep talking later after this town hall.
So, DJ's revenge, you're wrong in that the retention of players over the last 6 months is actually higher than the retention of players after we got through the first 45 days where we had all the issues post-launch. So our golden cohort of players didn't retain as well as the players that we've attracted now. So you're a person who's been here a very long time, and you're kind of making these claims that a thing isn't fun. And it's just like, I don't see that in the data. And you can't claim that new players are just getting paid a ton of money to play this game and stick around, right? So there's a component to this where if you're going to make a thing, if you're going to come in here and make a statement like the game needs to be more fun, why don't you put forward an idea to adjust the tuning to make that happen? If you're like, rebuild the game, I'm literally talking about shipping Fall Guys meets Mario Kart meets Wipeout in a couple of months. And if you don't think that's going to be fun, if you're one of the people that's not going to get into that, I don't know why you're sticking around. You got a Shadowcorn profile pick. Are you not excited about Shadowforge? I'm going to be very curious to see what you think of Twilight Tactics, the War for the Dark Forest, right? Like, I don't know what to tell you, man, other than to be like, we're working on a whole bunch of things simultaneously. It is literally the entire ecosystem that matters, and you're complaining about land gameplay. So I'm not being dismissive of the community. I am just being very clear with what our strategy is. And if you don't like it, you've been here long enough, you've complained long enough, I don't know why you're still here. Feel free to actually come up and have a conversation with me as well. You know, I'm always here. I've taken every hard question the community has ever put forward. So this isn't an outright rejection of it. I'm literally saying, tell me a way that you would like the game retuned to make the farming experience better for you. So again, you have to look at, I'm looking at, no, I agree. And thank you for saying that. So obviously, I'm not even upset. I'm just energized, because this part of this is like, if there is a suggestion here to make this better, we're all ears. I just cannot commit more dev resources to a thing that we've already iterated on with the community. And just at the end of it, if everybody's just immediately like, well, I hate this, it doesn't fit my style, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The farming piece of this is really the crux that just grinds me at this point, because we've made a couple of attempts. I myself have made a couple of attempts. It's made my play experience better, because again, I grind the seed bags. I actually just wait. This is going to drive people crazy. I wait for my energy to get up, and sometimes I'll plant a seed bag even having to refill 2 energy points, just because I know over time that I'm getting more berries out of it. I know the min-maxers here are like, oh my God. But you just have to understand that's I'm all ears to tuning changes. So.
All right, chat, you heard that. So if y'all want to suggest a solution, it's not like we don't want a solution or we don't want to listen to the community.
Yeah, perfect example is just what I said. Like, a super easy change is to just change the timers. It costs you more in seeds to plant, but you only have to plant 1 day and you come back. The funny thing is, as much as I've been advertising seed bags, this kind of kills off seed bags' utility a bit. But again, you know, as people are saying in chat, seed bags have been a thing. They've existed for a long time. They do just make your life easier. You don't have to sit here and constantly grind if you don't want to. And I'm hitting a limit at some people who are very stuck. And this is, I'm totally moved off DJ. I totally get what you're saying, so I'm not referring to you anymore. There's other players who've been here even longer, actually, that continue to complain. They're in this situation. I'm just like, why? You know, there have been things that you know, can be very helpful to your experience. But again, back to final point on this. You change the timer, you increase the amount of seeds that's necessary, you change the timer to once per day, you're coming back once per day. But immediately it's like, oh, but you're not getting the bonuses that you would get if you're grinding it out 3 times a day. Like, you know, if you just need like seeds, because I have like a small cloud corn crew, right, that kind of needs some seeds or some berries every day just to meet the actions that I'm kind of sending them into. And so I you know, waiting 24 hours on berries versus having a, you know, an 8 or 6 hour timer. Like, again, there's a lot of things to consider here, and it's not that we've just been blanket ignoring it. We have not come up with a solution beyond what we've shipped. So again, I'm all ears on this front. It's good to be having the discussion. Cora is making some really good points I'll call out too, which is like, well, crafting of seed bags is taking up crafting slots. It's like, yeah, it is. I again prefer to spend less time farming, so I'm willing to accept that. But I understand the points that are being brought forth. Like maybe it's an adjustment to crafting times. Like the beauty of this is the challenge in this is that we have to consider all the systems that are involved when making this change. But the design and product teams are very open to making changes, and we've been having this conversation internally. But given how we've shipped a couple of things and put work behind it, and immediately there's a cohort of players that have been upset every time, it doesn't make us feel very good about continuing to, push on that without getting to clarity. And I want to really feel like we're solving the issue if we make further changes to that system.
All right. So I think this is a good question to end the town hall on. If people do have follow-up questions, let's keep the conversation going later on. So that concludes the town hall number 45. Any questions in the thread will be answered later, and we will see you next time for the AMA for Surf Labs next week. We'll post a recording of this on our socials if you would like to give it a re-listen, and don't forget to share this with your friends and fellow Unicorn fans who couldn't make it. And if you have more burning questions, feel free to reach out on our support channels, the Mod Support channel and the Ask the Devs channel. This has been Sparkle Unicorn with Stealthy on Tech, hosting co-founder and CEO Aron and Ziori. Good morning, good night, and see you in game, Unicorn fam. Let's keep talking. Bye!